Welcome to the American School for the Deaf archives. The American School for the Deaf, ASD, was shaped by three very different gifted men with one common goal: to establish a school for the deaf in the United States. First was Laurent Clerc, a deaf teacher from France who was fluent in sign language. Next was Thomas H. Gallaudet, a recent graduate of Yale University in search of a ministry. And finally, Dr. Mason Fitch Cogswell, a local surgeon, anxious to establish a school for his deaf daughter Alice. The timing of this effort, during a period called the Second Great Awakening, was also crucial to the success of the new school. The Second Great Awakening, about 1790 to 1840, was a time of great social change and reform. ASD was cited by one Connecticut historian as the single greatest example of philanthropic effort during this period. Laurent Clerc was 37 years old when he and his wife, Eliza, sat for these portraits. These portraits were done by Charles Willson Peale in 1822. 6 years earlier, Clerc met Thomas Gallaudet in Paris. That meeting changed the course of their lives forever. Clerc himself was deaf, well educated at the Paris Institute, and an accomplished instructor at the Institute, something that was unheard of in America at the time. Gallaudet recruited Clerc to accompany him back to America to open a school for the deaf in this country. Initially, Clerc agreed to a 3-year assignment in America with the intention of moving back to Paris. But, as we know, he chose to remain in Hartford for the rest of his life. In 1819, he married ASD alumni Eliza Boardman, had 6 hearing children, and lived in a house near the American Asylum until he died in 1869 at the age of 83. This cabinet houses many of Clerc's belongings, which the Clerc family has gifted to ASD through the years. Some of these items were brought by Clerc from France during his 1816 voyage to America with Gallaudet, like his pocket watch. As well as his lap desk and shaving kit. The 1815 painting of a very young Clerc on the top shelf, artist unknown, is believed to be the first image showing the movement of sign language. See the faint letter C. The silver pitcher was gifted to Clerc by the Pennsylvania School for the Deaf in 1822 for his assistance in establishing their school. This later portrait of Laurent Clerc, taken from an original glass plate in the archive, was painted by Louis Fusari in 1948. It was commissioned by ASD's Alumni Association and gifted to the school. It hangs above his writing desk, made in 1850, which was also a gift to the school from the Clerc family. The Reverend Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet was born in 1787, graduated from Yale University in 1805, and then studied theology at Andover with the goal of entering the ministry. Here you see a portrait of Gallaudet that was painted from a photograph by a deaf artist, Jacques Alexander, in 1908. This is the most well-known likeness of him, commonly seen in books, articles, and even on his commemorative postage stamp. Here is an earlier portrait of Gallaudet by deaf artist Philip Hewins, painted in 1843 when Gallaudet was 56 years old. It's the only known painting of Gallaudet for which he posed. Gallaudet was selected and funded by a group of 10 Hartford businessmen to travel to Europe to explore teaching methods used in deaf education there, considered a novelty in the United States at the time. Gallaudet left for Europe in 1815 and returned to Connecticut the following year with Laurent Holt. In April 1817, they opened the Americans' Asylum, with Gallaudet as its first principal and Clerc as its first instructor. Under their direction, the school also became a training center for all teachers of the deaf as well as students. During his tenure, Gallaudet wrote many sermons, lectures, and articles about deaf education. He also wrote several textbooks, most of which we have in the archive. He retired from the school in 1830, but continued to support the school's mission in his retirement. One of the most popular display items in the archives is Gallaudet's glasses with the original case, from which his sign name was derived. Right next to the glasses, you can see this rare pocket notebook of Gallaudet's, used to communicate with an unnamed deaf individual. Over here is the chair he used when he served as principal of the school, and we are extremely fortunate that it has survived in such good condition. Gallaudet was known for his philanthropy. In spite of chronic health issues, he worked tirelessly for the school, the underprivileged, and the underrepresented people of Hartford's community. He died in 1851 at the age of 63. Dr. Mason Fitch Cogswell, a neighbor of the Gallaudet family, was a successful, well-known physician and surgeon in Hartford in the early 1800s. After his daughter Alice lost her hearing in 1807, he became focused on her education and, more significantly, the lack of resources anywhere in America. He knew that institutions for education of the deaf existed in Europe, but he was unwilling to send his daughter so far away. He conducted a census of Connecticut households in 1812, specifically inquiring about deafness to determine if the extent of deafness would warrant the expense and effort to build a school. Then he gathered a group of his contemporaries to arrange funding for an exploratory trip abroad. In one afternoon, the men collected $2,500 to underwrite the trip. Thomas Gallaudet was among the group, and they selected him to make the voyage and bring back the concepts of deaf education. Instead, he brought Laurent Clerc. While Gallaudet was abroad, Cogswell made legal arrangements for the school's incorporation in 1816 under the name the Connecticut Asylum for the Education and the Instruction of Deaf and Dumb Persons. When the school opened in April 1817, Alice Cogswell was his first student. Here you can see her pocket notepad and an 1829 catechism, as well as her Bible with her name barely visible on the cover. The archive houses a selection of her writings as well. Dr. Cogswell became the school's first physician. He died unexpectedly at age 69 on December 10, 1830. Tragically, Alice died less than 3 weeks later on December 30th. The 2 desks you see here were made by the boys of the school's cabinet shop. The boys made most of the furniture for the school. This is a typical teacher's desk. These were made between 1850 and 1920. The larger desk is the steward's desk, in which keys, cash, receipts, and banknotes were kept. This desk retains its original finish and still has a maker's label inside with the names of the boys who made it in 1864. One of those boys was a student named Samuel Green, who was expelled in 1863. The school gave Samuel a second chance and accepted him back a year later. Samuel went on to graduate from Gallaudet College in 1870 and became one of the first deaf teachers at the School for the Deaf in Ontario, Canada. He became such a legend in his hometown that they named a street after him. This is Samuel Green.